What does LGBT stand for? It stands for
Lesbian is a woman who is sexually attracted to members of the same sex. Gay is a man who is sexually attracted to members of the same sex. Bisexual is a person who is sexually attracted to both men and women. A transgender is a person whose sense of identity does not correspond with their birth sex. Sexual orientation might seem like only two simple words, but in some countries, people's lives are impacted greatly due to them. There are 10 countries around the world that punish homosexuality with the death penalty. Some of these countries are the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. They do so because homosexuality is a sin under the Sharia law, which is derived from the Quran. Countries have different and contrasting views regarding the LGBT community. The Netherlands is considered to be one of the best countries for the LGBT community in the world. Same-sex sexual activity legal, LGBT community allowed to serve in the military, right to change legal gender without surgery, first country to legalize same-sex marriage and adoption. The citizens of the Netherlands, especially the LGBT community, is protected by anti-discrimination laws regarding hate speech. There are some progressive states in the country that openly accepts the LGBT community, such as California and New York, amongst others. However, there are blacklist states who are opposed to the idea, such as Kansas and Texas. The Trump administration is a less supportive ally of the LGBT community than the Obama administration was. President Trump has announced a reinstatement of the ban on transgender people in the military, and many of the people that work in his cabinet have openly opposed to gay rights. Without consulting or even alerting the heads of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, Trump announced the ban in the military. Brazil is a controversial country in relation to LGBT life. It has an LGBT-friendly reputation, as same-sex sexual activity is legal, and it's one of the world's largest nations to recognize same-sex marriage. However, recently, there were violent LGBT deaths, and a federal judge allowed conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is a practice with the aim of changing an individual's sexual orientation from homosexual or bisexual to heterosexual. It needs to be said that homosexuality is not a disease, disorder, or perversion. Russia prohibits the spreading of information about non-traditional sexual relations, so the access to essential information is denied, the stigma against LGBT children and family members is perpetuated, and society is directly harmed. Children 404 is an online group that offers psychological support, advice, and a safe community for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender children. It has repeatedly been censored and subjected to attempts by the government to shut down the group. Different religions have different religious views on the LGBT community. In the main portion of history, homosexuality was moral and sinful for Christians, as the Catechism names that homosexual acts are immoral and contrary to natural law. They oppose the idea of homosexuality, as sex is only for reproduction, a child should have a right to a mother and father, and male and female complete God's image. On the other hand, an increasing number of Catholics have started to welcome the LGBT community and defended their rights. For example, in 2018 in the United States, 70% of Catholics say that homosexuality should be accepted. A good example is Pope Francis, who defended the traditional church teaching against same-sex marriage. He has also made 3 notable moments in his evolution. He said that God doesn't condemn LGBT individuals, suggested that the church should be open to civil unions, and began a series of meetings with LGBT individuals. In the recent years, Jewish leaders considered heterosexual relationships the ideal human relationship for the preservation of Jewish people. By being homosexual, you're acting sinfully and should be severely punished. However, a few years ago, 81% of Jewish people said that homosexuality should be accepted. In the Quran, homosexual acts are punishable by the death threat and penalties. Many schools teach children that having sex with the same gender is a sin. Many Muslim gays keep their sexual orientation a secret for fear of disagreement from relatives and others. However, in the past 3 years, Muslims have changed their thoughts. The majority of American Muslims accept them. 52% of them say that homosexuality should be accepted by society. There has been a rising number of LGBT-friendly mosques around the world. For example, there are some in Canada, Australia, and there's one in Cape Town in South Africa.